All right, so we're halfway there. Next up, we have the team from Ker Consulting, Bob and Kevin. Are you two on the line?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. Go ahead and pull up your presentation, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think Bob is muted. Bob, I think your microphone is muted.
Bob, if you're on the phone, you need to press star
I
six.
see it. I see it. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Welcome back. Thank you.
I was going great guns, and it was just pearls. Everything I said was just fantastic. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys took the time to stay with us. My name is Bob Foster. I work out of the Houston office for Ker Consulting, and we're going to talk about one of our AnyWare products, which is called WorkFlow Anywhere, or as I tend to call it, WorkFlow Everywhere, because in my opinion, every company has got procedures, policies, et cetera, that need to be digitized, and that's what this product is able to do. So the agenda, as you might imagine, is a bit of an overview, excuse me, of WorkFlow Anywhere. We'll then do a live demo and then talk about resources and open the floor up for Q&A. So who is Ker Consulting? We have been Sage Intacct dealers for the last 3 years. We're finishing up our 3rd year. We were Rookie of the Year in 2018. We've been Sage dealers for the last 20 years or so. We have probably 5,000 clients in all 50 states and 20 countries they never let me go to. We're based in the Houston area, and AnyWare Apps is a registered trademark of Ker Consulting, and WorkFlow Anywhere is one of the products that we have in that stable of applications. So let's talk a little bit about what WorkFlow Anywhere is. It is low code or no code, digital process. You can read it right there, automation platform. So what I would like you to focus first off is the fact that it's a platform, which means that anything that we create here is customized. And so the customer has a need for a business process to get digitized, to get accountability in there, to make sure that it goes properly up the chain of command, to make sure that everybody that needs to touch the information touches it. And so consider it again to be a platform. And I drive that home because as we go along, there's going to be questions about integration, which naturally there would be between WorkFlow and Intacct. And the answer is going to be, well, where does the customer want to integrate that? Do they want to create an AP invoice? Do they want to create an AR invoice? What is their goal? And because it is a platform and because it's customizable and because we meet with the customer and take a great amount of time to create a statement of work to make sure they're getting what they need, the integration will be exactly as they wish for it to be. Now, the product's been around since 1998. It has been in over 580 corporate customers. We'll talk about those in a little bit. As you can see, there are 500,000 or 1.5 million professional users. So a couple of other things to be aware of. It is a low code or no code automation platform. So when we say no code, what that means is that even I can create a form and create a workflow without having to do any code, without having to write any basic program or whatever. What does that give us? That gives us quick development. It's all drag and drop, or again, at the basic or elementary phase, it's all drag and drop. And so you can design it as you need to. Scalability, this product, we've gone from 10 users in some cases to 8,000 users in other cases. So there is no limit to what you're able to do. And we'll talk about some of the international clients that we have and some of the things that they're doing. Process automation, the world, if a client or if the world is relying on clipboards and emails and Microsoft Teams, automating that as far as the workflow goes and making sure, again, that all the touches happen that need to happen, this is what WorkFlow Anywhere is all about. And by doing that, by not having to chase around and wondering where the information is, We're able to create cost reductions. We're able to create dashboards to keep track of the approvals and the touches that need to happen. And then, of course, we're able to document the approvals by management. So the modules, first off, workflow, and we'll show you specifically how this happens. We also have the ability to do document and records management, so that if you'd like to have a library of documents, maybe licenses that your contractors have or something along those lines, you can do that. We're able to capture information, of course, and then, of course, we're able to create a dashboard as necessary. So workflow anywhere, or again, as I prefer to refer to it, workflow everywhere. The applications are really as limitless as your imagination. Going from, in our particular case, we've done some quote management, which I'll show you here in a bit. But we've even done veterinary management, and so we have created applications to keep track of animals that have been pulled out of a feedlot and had to go to the vet, and what the treatment was, whether the animal died, what the weight was coming in, what the weight was going out, things along those lines. We've also done things, capital investment. So to justify the purchase of a new vehicle and maybe attach 3 quotes to it and things along those lines. So there is a wide opportunity here as far as what the needs are and what we would be able to do. Industries, we have as I said, we have a rather busy slide here, but the fact of the matter is every company has got processes. Every company has got procedures that need to be followed rather strictly. The approvals need to be documented. All the touches need to happen. And so even though we've got lists here and we've got graphics here, what I would say is don't limit it to those lists, even though those are long lists, because there's so much that we can do. You're only limited by your imagination. So here are some of the companies that we've dealt with, and let me tell you a little bit about what's been going on here. 3M, WorkFlow Anywhere is in 17 different countries, and they're using it to digitize and automate some of their internal processes. Let's talk about Ford. Ford is using WorkFlow Anywhere to manage the approval processes and document management at its automotive plants. Makes sense, where they're building the Ford Transit Connect. The United Nations, see if I'm going to be able to do that. There it is right there. The United Nations is keeping track of refugee records and documentation to manage applications and able to maintain a paperless transaction. Godiva Chocolates, they are using it to manage internal processes, again, striving towards a paperwork environment. The VFW over here, they're managing records and documents digitally. And then AstraZeneca over here, we've seen those ads on TV. They're managing internal approval and administrative processes. And there are so many more that we could certainly provide you with examples of. So what is the sweet spot? Who uses this thing? Well, it's not a hard and fast rule by any means, but the sweet spot is to have 20 more employees. At that point, we do seem to lose some connectivity that we need between various employees. If they're dependent on Excel, if they're dependent on manila folders, if they're dependent on clipboards in order to get things done, that's the ideal client to have WorkFlow Anywhere, digitize that, and again, get the accountability built in there. Low productivity. Again, if you're searching for where is that document, where is that request, if you've got it immediately available, productivity immediately goes up. If you have multiple business locations, another good idea, because it can be cloud-based, and because, which is the next line, obviously, it's hardware agnostic, and that'll work on your tablet, it'll work on your phone, of course, obviously it'll work on your computer. Multiple business locations can be in communication with each other immediately, and that approval, in case the approval is in a different campus or a different location, you're able to get that over there and get that approval done and move the process along. And as we've said before, WorkFlow Anywhere is pretty much vertical. It's not limited by any vertical. It can be applied almost anywhere. So everybody's favorite radio station is WIIFM, right? What's in it for me? Well, we've got a 4-point thing here. Number one being better resource control. The fact that you know where you are in the process, yeah, you're not searching for the information, it's right there, and it's able to, again, follow a pre-planned approval or, again, touch process. We are able to save time, and you know as well as I do that when you save time, you save money. We're providing a corporate memory rather than have to go to a file cabinet to figure out where did we buy that from, how did we buy it, what were the bids. You have that all built in electronically into WorkFlow Anywhere. And because of all that, we're able to measure our performance and be very cognizant of the fact that we're able to more quickly work this through our chain of command and get the results that we want. So joint customers, we have several here, one of them being a restaurant chain. In this particular case, it happens to be a franchisee. We have WorkFlow Anywhere going and getting their point of sale information and creating the necessary general ledger transactions in order to book revenue and of the various types. Being in Houston, naturally, we're into oil and gas. We're able to keep track of the assets and where the assets are located. And then in construction, we're able to keep track of when our people come on board, when they leave. There's timekeepers that stand, basically at the gate, and they're able to check people in and out. And then a new one that we're in the process of working on right now is a fuel transportation company that takes fuel out to cruise ships, and we're able to keep track of not only the transaction and the amount of fuel, but also the dimensions. What was the tug? What was the barge? And we're able to post that into Intact so that we are able to do profitability by barges as well as by the tugs. So how do we sell it and how can we work together? Well, Sage Intact gets a lead, you're working on a sale, but they say, I need an accounting system, but I also need some sort of an approval process that might be outside the system. You certainly, please refer to that to us, and we will conduct a discovery call to find out what they need. We'll stay in touch with you, of course, the whole time that happens. We'll put together a demo and a proof of concept. Usually that consists of me creating the form that we think that they will fill in. And then maybe a small workflow to show them where the touches might happen. The close time might be 4 to 8 weeks, although we've done it faster than that. And then the implementation time also depends on what they're asking for. It might be 1 to 2 months. If they're asking for something real exotic, then obviously it could take quite a bit longer. So how does integration work? And the answer really is there at the bottom. It's the way the client wants. Whenever I demo this, I always feel a lot like Bob Ross. If you're old enough to remember the guy that was on PBS that would paint those paintings on Saturday morning, and he'd talk about, oh, here's a happy little tree right here. Selling and demoing WorkFlow Anywhere is very much like that. If you'd like that field, we can create that field. If you'd like that workflow, if you'd like it to go in this direction, we can make it go in that direction. The client gets to tell us what they want, and we create it for them. So let's go over to a live demo. Now, in this particular case, what we've done here is we have put this as a dashboard directly in Intact. And we have our own security system here where we're able to log in. This is separate from Intact's security. I'm going to go ahead and log in here. And you're able to determine which applications they can get into, et cetera, things along those lines. Go away. And so here we have one of our dashboards. One of the things you would have here is a flag to indicate the items that you need to approve or the touches that you need to create. Next to it, we have delegation in case I'm on vacation and I need to send this to somebody else. We can assign that and make that happen. Over here, we have a variety of applications. I'm going to show you a few of them. We talked about the vet records. Here we go, where we have these veterinary records for animals that have been pulled out of a beef feedlot. And so we're able to document the tag, document the lot number, the date of service, who was the cowboy that brought in, what was the condition. And then from here, we can go ahead and add and indicate what did we do for this animal? Was there any medicine issued? Who issued it? Things along those lines. And we will have a permanent record of that. So that was one of the requests that we've had in the past. Capital expense, and don't save that. Capital expense. So we need to justify the fact that we need to purchase maybe a new truck or something along those lines. And so from here, again, I can go ahead and fill in the reason. You can see that it already picked up my name as well as the date that we're doing this. And we're able to fill this out. We are able to do a pull down for when do we need it? Let's say we need it by the end of the year. We have a pull down here for that we are able to control as far as what are the departments that we want to see. And then from here, again, we can click on this and it'll go take us over here and we can select the vendor, the cost, and we can add a document to this so that if we've got a quote and we want to scan that and bring that into the system, we can add that quote as well. It can already be on the system if we want to look for it, or we can scan it directly from here. Now, the last one I want to show you is one that actually we use internally, and that is our quoting system. For any of our salespeople, we don't use this, but for those of us that are consultants and we're out in the field and a customer needs a couple of additional user licenses or something along those lines, we have them fill out this quote request, and then it goes into our sales department. The quote gets created and sent out to the customer for final approval. So in this particular case, we can indicate, do a pull down here for customer name. What's happening in this particular case is we're going over and we're pulling this information directly from Intact. And so we have an integration here that does require code, but we're going to say we're going to do it for this particular customer. We're able to look for that customer, who are the contacts, and so we can select one of those. You see that we're filling in all the additional information here, again, pulling it directly from Intact. So we have that integration set in there. Down here, we can indicate what is it we want to sell them. And let's say we want a user license. And my typing will be very embarrassing. So just please deal with that. And let's say it's 1,500 to us and 1,800 to them, whatever the math happens to be. Once I say that that's okay, it flows back into the system. Once I save it, it goes ahead and sends it into our sales department in order for approval. Now, I've got it here within Intact, but I can also operate the same thing, and you'll see it here, as a standalone application. So if I don't want my folks getting into Intact, but I still need to be able to do a quote, I can have them use an application, an app on their phone or on their tablet, go in here and see the exact same information and be able to pull it down and create a quote that they might need. So how did we get here? That's always an important question. We go here and we are able to go into the studio and create the form that they will fill out. Now you can see that this form is an exact representation of what we have here. And so this is all drag and drop. So I can say I want to have a text box here. And so I'm going to bring that over and put a text box. Oops, missed. Try it again. There it is. A text box in here. I can size it as I might need to. And even though we call it a text box, you can double click on that and determine the type of data. So yes, it can be text, or it could be numeric, or it could be a date, or it could be money. And so we're able to put that in there. We indicate the label that we want to have, and I'm just going to call this input for no good reason. We got some other choices that you see up at the top here. We have a radio button if we want. We have check boxes. We have, in this particular case, we've said it was a date, and we've got the calendar attached to it. Over here, we've indicated that we want pull downs in order to get departments. In this particular case, we have some code behind this that is taking us over to Intact and pulling this information down for us. Now, in addition to this, we also have what's called a modal form. This is the form that pops up when we are adding the details that we have down here. And you're able to tell it, well, of this information, how much of it do I want to be seen on this particular screen? So you don't have to see all of it. You get to pick and choose. And then the last thing we have here is the workflow itself. And so here again, you notice on our tools list over here on the side, we've shifted from the top piece here, which is giving us all various types of data, user information, etc. When we go to the workflow, we shift down to the bottom here, indicating again maybe who's the approver, things along those lines. And it's just a matter, we click it over here, we have added that to the system, and then we can certainly add the necessary lines or I need this one, sorry, approvals and lines to it. There we go. When we save it, we are able to compile it and add it to our menu for whoever might need it. So that's a very, very quick. And like I say, this is low code or no code. Trust me, and my colleagues that are on the call with us will swear that I am not a programmer, very possibly loud and clear. So let's go back to our, where did it go? There it is. Our slides. So how do we maximize value? These are the same questions you saw a little while ago. Does it work with web services or platform services? And the answer is yes, we can work with both. And we have created applications in both environments. Is it one way or bidirectional? It can be bidirectional. Again, you're going to hear me say one more time that it depends on what the customer wants, but we can certainly pull information from Intact in order to do a lookup and then send it back to Intact to create a transaction or, again, a master file record. Which dimensions? The dimensions that the client wants. Like I said, we have this one client that keeps track of the barges that are moving the fuel as well as the boats that are pushing the barges. And so we're keeping track of both of those. And then what support is provided? Well, complete support with us. We will teach you how to create a workflow. We will do it for you. We can do the coding for you. We can show you how the coding works. It's just a matter of how much independence and how much talent does the end user happen to have. But we're certainly more than willing to help in any of those directions. And so if you have any references, certainly contact me, and here I am. Let me know and we can work together on this. I'll be glad to do a demo with you. We can work this together, or you can turn it over, whichever way works best for you. And we will be more than happy to help you get those sales that you want so bad. And so this is the last slide. And so if there's any questions, I would be glad to address them, or let you get out of here 5 minutes early, whichever works for you.
Thanks, Bob. I don't see any questions in the chat. Does anyone on the phone have any questions for Bob or Kevin?
Yeah, I have a question, Benny. Is Dave able here?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
Yes.
So would this be something we could use for, like, for instance, sometimes I get asked about accounts receivable, cash receipts, and that you can't, we have no workflow that you can approve the application of the cash. You basically just apply the cash, and you either go to a bank account or a deposit fund, and then you kind of roll with it. And normally people aren't approving cash receipts, but in this case, it's basically the client was wondering if they could approve the application, make sure it was applied to the right invoices and so forth. So would this be a solution for something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We could create or just about mimic the screen for cash application that we have in Intact. Send that, again, when you save that, send it to the approver. Once they approve it, then the rest of then it creates that transaction in Intact. And so we would start from outside the system and then bring it inside the system, again, with the ability to look up who's the customer, what's the invoice, what's the amount, all the things that you would expect to see.
So you're basically taking the cash application process outside of Sage Intacct by reading that data, and then once it's applied and approved, you send it back as an applied transaction.
That's my first, given the 30 seconds I spent thinking about it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, All right, perfect. That's awesome. Thank you so
All
much.
right, great. Thank you for your question. Next
Thank you.
caller.
Yeah, Bob, Bob, this is Jeff. I have a question. How's this product priced?
We have a annual subscription. I believe it's about $4,000 a year. And then the development costs depend upon what the customer wants. And we do spell all that out. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Okay. No, I was just going to say, I mean, from an average, what's the implementation cost ratio to the subscription cost? What's it typically run?
Subscription cost is the bargain. You know, we've got one operation we're in the midst of now. I think we have about 300 hours that they've committed to. We have other operations where it's 20, 30, 40 hours. But usually that's the development is the lion's share of the engagement.
Okay. And what's the average implementation time to roll something out?
It's in the neighborhood. Again, there's a lot of it depends, but I'm going to say somewhere between, somewhere between I'm going to say 40 and 100 hours for an implementation.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Next caller.
Great questions. I appreciate it.
Well, then I guess we're there.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob and Kevin, for the presentation. Any of you that have questions later on the line, feel free to reach out to Bob or Kevin or myself. These sessions are also all recorded and will be uploaded into Box and HighSpot, so you can go back to them to review as needed. Please do join us for our next Power Hour session on December 17th, where we will be featuring Ramp for their spend management integration, mostly focusing on their corporate card, as well as AFEX for their global payments integration. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day and rest of your week, and thank you for attending.
Thanks to all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.